Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Lees and I'm the host for the Recipe to Success podcast. And I'd like to start off by wishing that you all had a wonderful Christmas. I think everyone can kind of vouch for this, that this year has been a super tough year. People have lost loved ones, their brothers, their sisters, their aunties, their uncles, their husbands, their wives. It's been tough and you know, when all this happened, I think everyone looked at this and was like, how is this even happening? Am I in a film? You know, we thought maybe it's not even going to go on for that long. Maybe it'll get better. But as we enter into 2021, COVID-19 is still a thing. People are losing their jobs. Mental health is through the roof. And it's our duty as human beings to shed positive light on people and just kind of help others that are in need. Maybe you're in a job and you're not happy and you want to change, right? But you're scared to change. Well, my message to you is don't be scared. Change is good. Okay, take yourself out of that comfort zone. And I hope from some of the episodes of 2020, you can take some form of motivation to go out there and get it, because everyone is possible of absolutely everything. And today's guest is definitely one of those people. Today's guest is a lady called Kelly Marie Hodgkin. She is a businesswoman, a boss lady, and a mother of two, soon to be three. She's the director of Pinpoint Media Group. She's also a director at Dubai Hostesses and also a director of Gym Clothing Company. I first came across Kelly on social media and instantly was kind of drawn to her way of life and her Instagram and her stories and her beautiful house, her beautiful home, her beautiful children, beautiful marriage, and immediately wanted to know more and, you know, dug a little bit deeper and, you know, came to find out that she's a very successful business lady as well as being a successful mother and wife. And then when we spoke about doing the podcast, you know, I said to her, is there anything that's kind of any challenges that you've had in your life? And the response really shocked me. And what she's had to overcome in her life, not a lot of us have had to do that. So I'm so glad that she took the time to share her story with me and was able to kind of shed the light on what she's experienced and how she was able to overcome it and how, you know, she was able to use that as fuel to have a great family, have a great life, provide for her kids, be a role model, help other mothers, and just generally be a very inspiring character. So let's get this show on the road. This is the last podcast of 2020. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us on the podcast with Kelly Marie Hodgkin.
Thank you very much for joining the podcast. It's your first one, so we'll go easy. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I have been in Dubai for 12 years, moved over from Scotland. Previously from Scotland, I was in Essex.
Okay.
I was born in London.
Okay.
Yeah, but grew up in Essex, moved to Scotland for 8 years and then moved here.
Yeah. And what were you doing in Scotland?
I was a manager for Optical Express.
Okay. Do you know what, it's quite... I always, working with companies like that is quite good because they're so structured, right?
Yeah.
So they actually teach you quite a lot. Like when I first started out in sales, I worked with DFS.
Okay.
And they, like everyone used to laugh at me because all the salesmen were 50 years plus and there was like 21-year-old Danny trying to shift a few sofas. But it teaches you a lot of structure.
It does. I started off as a Saturday girl and worked my way up to full-time and then manager and then regional manager, and then moved from Essex to London, and then they took me to Scotland.
Nice. And like in terms of like prior to that, so what was school like? Did you kind of have any ambitions? Was it always like the dream to go and work for, I know it sounds random, but was it the dream to go and work for Optical Express, or was it?
No, I wanted to actually be an air hostess.
Okay.
But I wasn't tall enough.
Really?
Yeah, there was a height restriction and I wasn't tall enough.
Okay. And then, so whereabouts were you based in Scotland at the time?
So I started off in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And then I moved to Stirling, bought a house in Stirling, and then ended up in Glasgow.
So how did Dubai come around?
So after 8 years of being with Optical Express, I was renting a penthouse in Glasgow off of a guy who owned a company called Let's Direct.
Okay.
And they were moving to Dubai to open up an office here. And he was looking for a PA, completely different. But I was young, single, and fancied a change.
Yeah.
So I moved over.
Yeah, and how was it when you first came? Because,
Uh,
everyone's got this, like, if you move to Dubai now, you've got everything here.
Yeah.
It's a ready-made city.
I mean, I didn't know anyone, so that was tough. It just worked. It didn't actually work out with Let's Direct. The job didn't come about soon enough, so I had to look into something else. But it was just a risk, an adventure. Gave myself like a year, like everyone does, a year or two
Yeah.
to come out here, and then 12 years later, I'm still here.
You moved to Dubai, you kind of found your feet. When did you decide to become like an entrepreneur and your own business owner?
So going from optics and then jumping to sales, in
Yeah.
effect, jumping into starting up a modelling agency here
Okay.
for 2 other people. So they wanted to set up a company.
Yeah.
They both had separate jobs and needed someone to start it from scratch.
Yeah.
Don't know how I got the job because I had no
It must have
experience.
been such a cool job though, just dealing with good-looking people on a daily basis.
Well, it was to start it from scratch. It was like to build the website. It
Yeah.
was to build the business that it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fake it till you make it. I blagged my way into it.
Yeah.
Sorry if they're listening.
Yeah.
But we did really well. I set up the website. We did all the back end, and then we recruited all the girls. All the clients, and it was a good job. It was so fun. Like there was always something different every day to do.
Yeah.
Different people, different events, everyone in the office would always be doing something different.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
And when you say fake it till you make it, I mean, it's such an important thing. I mean, that's pretty much what I've done since I started my career,
Gift to the gab.
well, I don't know if it even is that, to be honest. But, I remember talking to my mum about the move to Dubai. And I remember when I was, talking to her about a position that I'd been offered, and I was like, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know this country.
Yeah.
I know nothing. And she said exactly the same. Fake it till you make it. And I think,
It's so true though.
Yeah.
Because deep down, we've all got it in us to do anything. And it was completely out my comfort zone, but nothing that Google couldn't help me with.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and do you know what? It's quite funny you say that because nowadays, like back when, I remember when I got my first computer, and you see kids now with mobile phones, and I'm sure with your little ones as well, they probably have phones or some
Phones,
sort of
iPads,
Exactly.
PS4s, yeah.
We never had that.
No.
Like, I remember, the computers with the deep screens. Like the screen was probably about as deep as this sofa.
Yeah.
Whereas now, fast forward, you've got your phones. Whenever I talk to anyone on my podcast, I go straight to Google their name and research them. Whereas before, it would be books, classrooms. You'd have to go, sometimes even go to the library. And internet cafes, do you remember them?
Yeah.
When they first
Dial-ups.
Yeah. I remember when Facebook first came out, and I had to go and pay like two free quid to go and log onto the internet for an hour. But so in terms of like when you got to starting your own business, so you've got the modelling agency. What were the kind of first things you kind of learned that you took with you
From their agency.
So you got the agency, so you started the
So I
agency.
started theirs, and then I left to do my own.
Yeah.
Um,
How did they take that?
To be honest, it was an awkward situation because it was around the time where everyone was losing their jobs.
In
What was that, 2008?
9?
Yeah, 2008. People were losing their jobs, so they both actually got made redundant. So they both kind of came on more hands-on in the agency. But in effect, they were obviously living off of the money that the agency was making, which was really, quite a strain.
Yeah.
So it wasn't kind of building up its profit as it was before.
Yeah.
Things, weren't going too well. So, I said I was going to leave, and then I don't think I was leaving to go and start up my own agency, but that's what happened in the end. But yeah, they were fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started your agency.
Mm-hmm.
How did that go?
It was good. I mean, it's still going, but
Yeah.
we've changed the name. It used to be called Lush Group.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I picked Lush Group because the logo was red lips.
Yeah.
Lush Group could kind of be anything, and at the time I started a dress boutique as well, and it was
Yeah.
Lush Boutique. I had a catering company, it was Lush Catering. We had Lush Modelling Agency, Lush Events, like it kind of went in front of everything.
Yeah.
But no, it was good.
Yeah.
It's taught me a lot. I have learnt a lot from it.
And how's it been like? Because obviously with this whole pandemic that's going on at the moment, and it looks like God knows what wave is coming next.
Yeah.
Like how's that affected that side of the business? Because obviously,
That was completely stopped.
yeah. So I mean, I suppose the benefit to what the business model was like, you would employ models, but you wouldn't have anyone on the books necessarily.
Yeah, so luckily enough, we don't have huge overheads, and very lucky I have obviously the other businesses and stuff. So, you know, if that's not going well, I've got that to fall back on. So, I have been one of the lucky ones. We got through the first 2008 in Dubai when everyone was doing really bad.
Yeah.
And we survived that, and then we've managed to survive this because a lot of the agencies that we work with have had to close down.
Yeah. And then next up was Pinpoint Media.
Pinpoint Media Group is my husband's company.
Okay.
So he started off at the same time I started off, and that's kind of how we met. He was doing an event and needed some hostesses.
Yeah.
So
he came to you.
He
was
did.
Like, give me some beautiful women.
Yeah. And he picked me.
And then he married you.
Yeah. So he was starting off that.
Maybe that's
He was
another
doing-
business idea. You could do like a dating, like.
Yeah, that's how we met. He was doing, he had loads of publications. So he used to have the Rake magazine. He used to have the alcohol magazine, Aquavitae. He used to have a lot. And we've whittled them down. I think we've got about 6 now.
Yeah.
And then from that, he's created Digital and Code, which is another company. He does a lot of website builds. Most recently, he has built and created the platforms for Choitrum, Spinneys and Waitrose. So all their online shopping comes from us.
All like e-commerce and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah,
How to
he's got his own
purchase online,
e-com now, yeah.
create the back end, pay for it online. Does he?
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And obviously then all their magazines, all their media, marketing, everything. So.
Yeah. Well, that's quite fascinating because, I mean, especially when it comes to, for instance, like magazines as well, because you would think, you know, you see all the newspaper businesses, that's kind of like...
It's dying breed.
It's dying now, isn't it?
100%,
Like
yeah.
everyone's connected to their phones. You don't really, you know, I remember the days where, you know, you used to go to the shop and buy a paper, like, you just don't do it anymore.
No.
You go online, Daily
Exactly.
Mail, Sun,
But luckily
whatever,
enough,
Golf
his
News.
stuff is all online as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the magazines that he creates as well is...
Yeah, so he's got Edgar Magazine now, which has an online shop as well. So an online gentleman's clothing brand as well. Yeah. He's got Yachting Magazine, I think that's online. And then Choitrum, Spinneys, Waitrose, they're all online.
Yeah.
And a few others, so.
Nice. And next up, we've got the Gym Clothing brand.
Yep.
How did that come around?
That's quite new for me.
Yeah.
It was started by Max first, and then he partnered with Jamie, who runs and owns Grassroots Creative Agency. And then they asked me to become a brand ambassador early this year, which I was over the moon about because I love, like, fitness is like a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And fell in love with the brand so much, and then I knew they were looking for investment and a partner, so
You jumped in.
yeah.
And how long has that been going for?
I think for them it's been going for a couple of years, but we're really now starting to push it, launching hopefully in the UK really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going
Nice.
well.
So what would you say the end vision is for, well, not even if there is an end vision, because with business, you've always got constant goals. So what's the goal?
Global, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but part of obviously fitness being a huge part of your life, do you reckon that was a contributing factor towards, being a part of this brand, or?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think I've probably tried every single brand out there, and I can honestly say that Gym Clothing Company stuff is the most comfortable, like best fitting, long lasting, wash is amazing. Like if I didn't believe in the brand, I wouldn't have invested in it.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, I've bought things from the US, like all over, like obviously all the major brands, but this stuff's really good.
Do you know what I find as well is that, especially with gym clothing nowadays, is that they don't really focus on quality. They you'll go into Sun and Sand Sports as an example here, and you'll pay like 300-400 dirhams just for some shorts.
So expensive.
Like, I don't get it. It's just
and our price point is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
Like we a pair of leggings I think is like 220. A top is like 180, where, like you said, they're so expensive.
So where can we actually find that? Like,
So you can go online, you can order it all online. We've got an Instagram page. The website's currently up, and it's we're redoing it at the moment.
is it only available in the UAE at the moment? Or?
I mean, it's available in the UAE, but we ship other places.
Okay,
so you can
ship it worldwide.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the most important career of all and the most time-consuming job of all, being the mum and the wife. Right?
Yeah.
You've got 2 boys, 3 boys, if you include the husband,
Yeah, the biggest child of them all.
the biggest child of them all, and now a 3rd one on the way in 5 months, right?
End of May,
May.
yeah.
So, how do you find time to do all this? And as well, like, yeah, my sister, huge respect to her, and this podcast, I'm gonna put her away straight away because she's just started her own business and finding the time as well as having a toddler. So, where do you find?
I mean,
the
the difference is, I think, hats off to everyone in the UK, because it isn't the norm there to have help, is it?
Yeah.
So I can imagine what she's probably going through. I'm lucky enough to have help, but it's all about balance. I've always been really good at balance, working, balancing work life, mum life, my life, like me time. I'm good at balancing.
Yeah.
It's one thing my husband's not quite got down yet.
Yeah.
He works a lot, but he's not got the balance yet of, time for himself or time for the fam.
Yeah.
So it's all about balance. And I've always had a diary. It has to be written down diary.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to manage your time really well.
Literally, you've kind of read my mind, because the one thing I was going to say is, tell us about your routine. So you've obviously got these businesses that you're involved with, as well as managing being pregnant, as well as trying to exercise. I saw on Instagram as well, you're still working out.
And I haven't this week.
No?
No, it's Christmas.
But how have you been able to do that? I don't get it. It's,
At the moment, for me, working out, it's a habit. It's from my mental health. Like, you get up in the morning, it's the first thing you do. Since being pregnant, working out is more of an effort, and I'm kind of only doing it now because I have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to be huge.
Yeah.
But I think for me, working, it's mentally, I need to exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that something that you've always had? Or
No. Funny you should say that. No, I
think
really
it's something
haven't.
to do with Dubai, because before I moved here, couldn't wake up in the mornings.
No.
Couldn't wake up. And then now I'm just like, wake up in the morning. Everyone's like, I spoke to someone today, actually, had a meeting, and the girl said to me, she's like, you make me feel so bad when I wake up in the morning, because you're posting at like 5:30.
Yeah.
And I'm waking up at 7 or 8 o'clock. And you're buzzing around doing your thing, and I don't do much. But it was never something that I actually.
No.
And
I think maybe because we're always, like, because of the weather here, we're always half naked, right?
yeah,
So you have to be on top of it.
you have to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
And how do you? I mean, because somebody that's obviously into fitness, body conscious, and like you do look good all year round. Like, how does that mentally deal with having a baby inside you, where you can't control which way is going where, and your body just like.
To be honest, it's been tough this time round. The other 2 times it didn't bother me. When I was pregnant with Harriet, it was my first. It was just really exciting, and I wasn't really that into fitness then. With Teddy, I worked out every day because I could. Like, I had loads of energy. I was weight training every day. Like, honestly, I think I put on 7 kg or 9 kg for the whole pregnancy. I've already put that on now.
Yeah.
Like, I think this time round it is really hard because I was at my fittest before falling pregnant. So, I mean, just got to deal with it and bounce back after.
Yeah, I mean, has the doctor kind of said like, oh, this one's going to be a bigger baby, or?
No, I think, it's probably age, something to do with like that, and being the 3rd one.
Yeah.
Like, it puts your body under a lot of stress and a lot of like strain.
Yeah, and like in terms of, I mean, you've obviously done 2 before. I mean, I remember when my mum told me when she gave birth to me, she says it's the most surreal feeling because you're in so much pain, but yet it's like the most wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Like, are you the sort of person that enjoys that process?
I didn't have the pain. I had, fortunately, had an emergency C-section with my first.
Okay.
The second one they said was a huge baby and I had to have a C-section. He wasn't. And then this one, because I've had 2, I have to have another one. So.
Okay, so you've never
didn't
really
do the pain.
experienced that. Okay.
No. I'm not too posh to push.
But
I just didn't get the chance.
too posh to push. Is that like a saying
a
that
thing,
people
yeah.
have? Okay, wow. I didn't know that was a thing. But as well, I mean, like that must be quite a tough period to like recover back from that, right?
C-section is,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, with Harry, it took me a while. With Teddy, it took me a week maximum. Like I was walking around after having Teddy the same day because I was so fit and so strong. The recovery was like instant, and this one I'm not sure. But I've done both spectrums of of the scale. So
Now, in terms of obviously balancing that work and life and being a parent, like how do you kind of divide that when you've got businesses that need to be run and you've got an involvement in, as well as taking care of a completely newborn baby? And unfortunately here in the UAE you don't get as much time. I suppose having your own business is a lot better, but if you're employed by someone, I think it's 3 months that you get?
I mean, I've never had the whole maternity thing, the maternity leave and the run. I was working, sending emails the day I was while I was in the hospital about to go in. And then probably the next day again, straight away on your phone. I think the good part of my business is I can do them on my phone, on my laptop. I don't have to be in an office. I can do them anywhere really in the world. So that's probably how I manage to do it all.
Okay. But does that not kind of tire you out though? Because, you've got such a huge recovery process, and then in terms of your children at the moment, like how were they as newborn babies? Because
really good.
I was going to say,
very lucky.
You've got such a mixture. Honestly, I love my niece to pieces, Harper, but I remember the first time I met her, and she was just constantly screaming. I really didn't know how to act. And I suppose when it's your own child, you know how to behave and you know how to treat them. But yeah, are you hoping that the number 3 is as good as gold as well?
100%. I mean, honestly, I don't really know what I would do if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But touch wood, I've been very lucky with these two. They've been really good sleepers, eaters, really chilled babies. So managed to just get on and work.
And in terms of, when you've got, and we'll obviously go into kind of your story as a child a little bit more, but when you've got your kids seeing their parents so driven by work, do you kind of see, even though it's early age, do you kind of see that they're kind of want to follow in your footsteps and have an idea about, their career and what they want to do?
I hope so. I think for me,
please don't tell me they want to play football for West Ham. Please.
No, they don't like playing football, much to Darren's dismay. They're not really interested. No. Teddy loves his West Ham, wearing it, and he likes watching it, but they've not shown that interest yet. He's hoping the third one will. But if you ask them what they want to do when they're older, they'll say work in an office because they know that's what we do. But no, for me, I think it's built in you. You either have it or you don't. I've always been ambitious and I've always wanted to work, and I've just always had a drive, and a motivation to do better.
But do you think that's down to kind of your upbringing? Possibly,
but I just think I always say this: you've either got it or you haven't. With the whole organisation thing, I had a baby yesterday and I'm sending emails today because you just it's a mindset, you have to have a strong mind. And
I think that's the biggest challenge, isn't it? It's like your mind can tell you so many things.
For sure. If you think you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. But if you just get on with it, I'm a proper get on with it girl. Just get on with it.
Do you do stuff to for me, I like listening to podcasts. I like to meditate, guided meditation. Do you have anything that you do that makes you, or are you just out of bed in the morning positive all the time?
No, Spencer helps.
Yeah.
When I watch him in the morning on my Instagram.
Yeah.
No, it is. You do have to train yourself and look at motivational things. Even if I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is probably have my coffee and flick through Instagram and really zone in on the motivational post that I see.
Yeah.
You have to just make that choice.
Yeah. And apart from obviously Spencer, who, I think everyone in Dubai has some form of thanks for. And I hope, Spencer, if you're listening to this, well, I always mention you and you never comment on this. So hopefully this time we'll catch you out and you'll listen to us. But, who else outside is like your biggest motivation?
To be honest, I'd say my husband.
Yeah.
Because he has the same, if not a much like stronger drive and motivational form than I do. I think obviously my balance is better, but he's got such a good outlook on things and he works so hard that I hope that my boys see both of us and have a good mix of that Darren's like the most hardest worker I've ever known.
Yeah.
And always like happy, like, I mean, he can be grumpy, but always like never lets things really bother him.
Yeah.
Which it's really taught me along the years not to be bogged down by the little things and people's opinions and little things. Like he's like, no, just don't let it bother you.
There's a saying, right? Everything's happening for you, not against you. And I think it's quite easy to become that mindset of this person's this or this person's doing that or this has happened to me, like how am I going to improve or how am I going to come back from it. But I think if you look at it like you don't let people like other people's opinions bother you, and I think all the downsides that social media have, I think if it can teach you one thing, it should teach you not to worry about other people's opinions. But yeah, it's
easy enough to say though, but it's still really hard. Like I try to live by that, but I mean, don't get me wrong, like it's hard.
Do you get any? I mean, your social media recently has started to grow significantly. Do you get many haters?
Probably had more when it was less.
Yeah.
Than I do now.
Because more people are following you because they like the inspiration that you've given.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably had more before, like I'd say a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sort of stuff did they say?
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Okay.
Just nasty, like just typical like keyboard warrior stuff.
And how would you?
But things that were quite laughable, to be fair. Like.
Yeah. How would you block that sort of stuff out?
I mean, I still think about it to this day.
Really?
Like, yeah. If I wear a certain shade of lipstick, I'm like, oh, do I really look like that? Like they would say, yeah. But you just have to laugh at it and just move on.
Do you know what's funny is that like you're obviously a really attractive person, and I think anyone that can find a fault in that it boggles my mind. But then again, part of listening to a lot of podcasts, I've started to try and be like more emotionally like intelligent. So rather than thinking about the person and their actions and what they said,
why did they
do that? And I think if you like you say, your husband is a classic example of that. I'm sure that he's really developed a huge emotional intelligence and gone, right, well, this person or X, Y, and Z, so don't let it bother me.
Yeah.
But it is true, and it's like when you read it back, you kind of laugh at it. But then it's like for me, I remember someone commented on the fact that I've got a lazy eye. Sometimes you can't see it now, but when I'm tired, it's horrific, and it's stuck with me ever since. And I always notice it on photos and stuff. And if I'm taking a selfie, or I love to take a selfie with my cat, bless her. But like if I've got a lazy eye, I'm like, right, now I need to take it again. So it's
face
true.
Tune it and make it bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I need to. What they call it, Photoshop.
Yeah.
So we said we're going to jump into it. And first of all, I want to say thank you very much for actually letting us into this point, because at the end of the day, this podcast, the Recipe to Success, is not necessarily down to your own personal success or your career. It could be where you are in your life, or it could be your health, or it could be having a beautiful family or a beautiful home. And there's a lot of people out there that listen to this sort of stuff, and it's only recently that we've actually started to get really good feedback from people. But obviously people have to share their stories to get that motivation. So thank you for that. Now, when I called you, I was calling you because I was like, right, this woman does really well in business. You motivate me and you make me want to do like bigger things and stuff. And I see photos of your house and your family, and I'm like, oh, like you're doing really well. And then we spoke, And you've obviously got a quite unique story yourself.
So there's I'm one of 3 sisters, and we were all adopted when we were quite young. I think we were like 2, 3 and 4. We were actually advertised in the newspaper for sale because it was such a unique situation, because there was 3 sisters and we had to be adopted together. They didn't want us to be separated. So yeah, we were advertised in the local newspaper, 3 sisters for sale.
What year was this?
Oh no, I don't want to tell everyone my age now.
Okay, sorry, I should never.
A few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, not too long. How old are you again? 3 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any like early memories of your actual parents?
No, none, which is really sad. But I think you block out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was given from the social services a photo album, which was the journey, and it had like, this is what you would have looked like as a baby, because there was actually no baby pictures of me, so there was just a random child. This is what you would have looked like. This is your mum. So there was a picture of my mum. This is your auntie, some random auntie, and then I was at this table just full of food, but it was just me. So that was a bit odd. But yeah, it was like a journey. And then this is when you were fostered, and then this is when your mum wanted you back, and then this is when you were fostered again.
Well, that's what I was obviously, there's a few articles online where you kind of opened up, I believe it was a while ago, right? Back in, I think 2013 you did.
Yeah.
You did.
When I was pregnant with Harry,
with your
so
first child,
2013.
because originally you never wanted kids, right?
No, I mean, it was never a thing. And I remember when my older sister had her first child, and when she was quite young, and I was just in tears. I remember at the hospital, like, no, like, this is just going to be a repeat of like our birth mum. And I was just like, when my adopted mum was there, I was just distraught, just thinking like, why are we bringing children into the world?
Now, I mean, we'll obviously touch base on a few things, but that point right there, I mean, do you feel like, I mean, you say sometimes you can block things out and deal with them. Do you think that you burst into tears at that moment because you hadn't dealt with everything that had happened to you, like through your teenage years and
No, I just think it was just, my mum had us when she was like 16, 17 and 18.
Yeah.
So then my sister was quite young, and she was having a little girl, and I was just like, oh,
yeah.
do it.
And do you know what I was going to say as well, is that part of your motivation, do you ever look back at your old life and go, I never want to be back there again, and that's why I want to keep doing what I'm doing? Is that a part of it? I
mean, 100% I would never want to be in that situation, but my birth mum, for whatever reason, struggled and couldn't look after us, and then there's so many kids that have been through the same thing, and were put into the system and were fostered and didn't get that chance to be adopted. So from the day that I was adopted, they gave me such a great opportunity and a chance at life. And I probably wasn't as thankful as I should have been, because, I rebelled. I left home at 16, I left school, started working, and I did go back home a few years later, and our relationship was fine, but I just did everything on my own. Like I kept my head down, worked, and wanted to do it by myself. I didn't need anyone's help.
Yeah. Now, you obviously, you mentioned that your mum, like, you got fostered and then your mum wanted you back. Like, do you remember that whole period?
No, nothing.
You don't remember any of it?
Don't remember any of it.
And what age was that up until?
Must have been about 4 or 5.
Wow.
I honestly don't remember any of it. And looking through that life story book, none of the pictures jogged anything.
Wow.
Like nothing.
So it's just a complete, from basically 5 and below.
Yeah,
blank.
anything that happened in foster care, and don't get me wrong, there's not flashbacks, but there's memories, or there's places, or there's things or times when I think I've been here before, or I recognise that, or there's stuff that's happened that I've blacked out for a reason, and I don't want to bring it to the surface.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, like, when at what age did you get adopted then? So
we must have been 3, 4 and 5, or 2, 3 and 4. We're super close in age.
So you got adopted pretty much straight away then?
I think it took about a year after she first said no. I mean, the way she gave us up, she put us in a taxi. It was the last time she ever saw us. She put us in a taxi. She sent us to a friend's address or an address, said that she was the babysitter and this is where they lived. And then obviously that wasn't. And that was the last time that she saw us, and then they took us that time and didn't give us back.
Did your adopted parents or did the kind of social service people, did they ever kind of say what your mum was like? Did they have any
I think
records
she
of her?
struggled with drugs and stuff.
Okay.
She was young, like she wasn't married. I think she struggled with drugs and, yeah, obviously mental health maybe.
Yeah. Wow. And then, I mean, how was it then? I mean, I suppose you probably don't know any different, but from then being adopted, did you know when you were growing up that like these weren't your real parents?
Well, I always grew up knowing that I was adopted, so I don't ever remember being sat down and explained the situation or explained the story.
Yeah.
But we always grew up knowing what happened.
Yeah.
So it must have been like told to us. It was never like a surprise or a shock or a secret.
And where are you in the three?
The middle.
You're the middle, okay. So, and how are the other two? Like, I mean, did they deal with it okay as well, and they've come out the other side, or have some of them been affected?
I'd say my older sister's probably been the most affected.
Yeah.
Because she would have been the oldest at the time, so she
would have
probably
remembered
remembers
a lot.
more.
Yeah.
My younger sister, she's doing well. She's got a young boy the same age as my oldest, and my oldest sister, she's a teacher.
Yeah.
And she's obviously got my niece who's 22 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say she was most affected by it all.
Yeah. And in terms of like your relationship now, you've still remained close, and you've got a good relationship with your sisters.
Yeah.
Even that, and they're based in the UK, yeah.
They're both in Essex, yeah.
Okay. And do they come and visit much?
Yeah, I've had them over. They've both lived here for a while and gone back.
Nice, the standard stuff that family do. That's one thing that my family have never ever done. Like my mum's been to see me twice, my brother's been to see me twice, but the rest of them haven't really been out and utilised.
It's only my sisters and my aunt, and when my mum was alive, my dad. No one else in my family.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have like cousins and stuff that come out, but they don't really.
And they cousins from your adopted parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, nice. Now, obviously, it's quite a traumatic experience, even though parts of it you don't remember, which is probably you would look at and say maybe a good thing, so you don't remember the trauma.
I do, and I sometimes think I'd love to go and do that that ayahuasca thing, where it makes you face your demons and stuff. Because
is that where they put you into, like they hypnotise you?
Yeah.
I'm actually reading a book right now, and it's called If Only Love Is Real. And it's about the same thing. It's about these two people. Now, it's a little bit deeper than this because what they're talking about is two people that had issues in past lives, which they never, she's basically gone into their spirits now, but then they end up meeting and falling in love.
Oh, wow. A true story.
It was random. I just looked on my side and like this book's there, and I'm like, I didn't go to the shop and buy that. How did it get here? But yeah, honestly, and then I read it and I was like, wow, it's quite fascinating. And it's about this doctor, and he tells a story on these two people. It's a true story as well, and and it talks about the spirit and what you've been through before, and you're when you have that feeling of deja vu, it's because you've actually been to that place in a past life.
Yeah.
And that's actually what they talk about a lot. But yeah, they do the whole hypnotising thing.
Yeah,
and
I'd love to, in one way, like I don't want to do counselling and stuff to revisit my childhood. I have done a couple of sessions and it was so weird. But I honestly think I've blacked these things out for a reason, and I don't know if I want to revisit it. I think it's going to be too stressful.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like I don't want to bring my insecurities and my stresses and there's so many things that I do now as an adult that I know has stemmed from that.
Yeah.
Like, and things that I don't like, patterns that I don't want to do, insecurities that I've got. Like,
what are they? Like,
the list is endless.
Give us a couple that are like the most prominent. What is it that you're talking about, patterns and stuff you don't like to do?
Like, it's the huge, I mean, the whole abandonment issues, the need to be loved, like the need to, like, just the fears of not being loved and the fears of abandonment.
Do you fear that then?
All that, like, it's ask my husband, like, he'll tell you.
Are you quite like you're quite affectionate person? You like to be
Yeah,
loved, like to
very.
be cuddled?
Yeah, very. Yeah.
That's nice. And in terms of like your husband, is he that sort of person?
No.
Is he not?
No.
Oh,
Complete opposite.
God.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have married a West Ham fan.
I know. But no, there is things that I would like to address.
Yeah.
And I would deep down like to meet those fears and not, hand them down to my children, because you do, like, unintentionally.
How are you with your kids? Like, do you give them the same sort of love and affection that you want?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you like you're the sort of mum that's like
Probably
cuddles,
too
kisses,
much, yeah.
and then
They're
like,
like,
"Mum,
get off."
God,
Yeah.
I'm in front of my girlfriend at school, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, my mum and dad that adopted us, they were very, like, my mum was very affectionate.
yeah.
My mum was like super fun, and I can only thank her for all the good stuff that she gave me, and all the good habits and all the love, really, because she had so much love and she was so affectionate.
Yeah, and when you look at her, like you have that. I know this may sound like a silly question, but you have that feeling of, that is my real mum.
Yeah.
Because I do say, and I think about part of being a parent is the fact that, okay, you might have helped contribute towards creating this human, doesn't automatically mean that you're a parent
No.
to them, because ultimately from day zero to day whenever is where you really show your worth as a parent, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, the fact that they didn't have any kids and then they suddenly had three. All with issues, all with, like, it must have been so hard for them.
yeah.
Like, hats off to them. They did a good job.
There's also a book that might actually help you with this, and it's talking about the 4 ways that people accept love, and it talks about the patterns of how each individual personality, and it's all,
Okay.
and it actually helps you understand the psychology behind how people want to be loved, because it was one thing that I probably can admit on my previous relationships is, you love someone in a certain way, but you love them in your perception of what you feel love should be like,
Yeah.
right? But you don't understand because
How they want to be loved.
It's
Yeah.
not down to the individual person, because at the end of the day, we can only really go on based on how we feel.
Yeah.
Until, one of my exes once said to me, like, this is how I like to be loved. Read this book,
Oh,
and you'll
really?
understand it more. And I
gosh.
read it, and I was like, wow. And it talks about all the different personalities, and it makes you understand a little bit more about, like, the personalities and how people. Because sometimes when I'm quite an affectionate person as well, and then when someone's not affectionate with me, I'm like, what's
Why?
wrong? Is there
Yeah.
a problem?
Is it me?
Is it me? So I need to clean my teeth. Does my breath smell? Do I smell sweaty? Whatever it may be. But yeah, anyway, you can go. I'll send the links for everyone to check the books. But how was school life? How was, obviously you went into school, that, talking about 5-6 years old, you go into school.
Hated it.
Did you?
Yeah, hated school.
Did you do well at all, or?
I mean, I was an average student, I'd say. I wasn't, like, amazing. I wasn't horrendous. I got good grades. I was, I think my attention span was always one thing on my report. But, I played the clarinet. Got
Nice.
distinction. That's probably one thing I was really good at. But yeah, school was like, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I got bullied quite a lot at school.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know what I find though? It's like, and I don't know if you remember any of you, like, or if you've ever seen it. Obviously when you're in Dubai it's a little bit different, but Facebook is a classic example. You get people, I don't know if you're on Facebook, but
Yeah.
on my Facebook I'll get loads of people sending me invites from, like, kids that I went to school with, and
Oh,
they're
really?
adults. Like, I remember this one lad, his best mate beat me up. And I will always remember, I've got a really bad memory as well, but I'll always remember I was in, like, the nursing room, but there was windows all across the main reception. I could see these kids, and he was one of them, and they're, like, laughing at the fact that this guy's just beat me up. And I'll always remember it. And I remember when he tried to add me on Facebook, and I thought, I'm going to click on his profile. And I was like, he still lives in the same place. Looks like he doesn't do that well, you know, typical, like, gets invites to his average business. And it's like a lot of the kids that were like cool or were deemed to be cool at school, they're nowhere now. It's so weird.
I mean, I went to an all-girls school. It was a Catholic convent called the Brentwood Ursuline Convent High School. So it's quite a strict school, very Catholic, but all girls.
Yeah.
So I think that was tough as well, like going in, you know, quite a strict family, because my mum and dad who adopted us were quite strict.
Yeah.
And going to an all-girls school, and then it was from them when I left and just went into the real world on my own.
Did you ever find that with all these, like if they were strict, like in terms of strict, do you mean religious, not letting you go out with boys, stuff like that?
I mean, a bit of that, but just general strict. Yeah.
Did you ever feel like, and I'm only asking this question because I rebelled when my mum remarried, and whenever the stepdad, who I now love to pieces, he's a great guy and he mentors me on a lot of things. Did you ever rebel and be like, well, you're not my real parents?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't remember any like that kind of feeling.
Did you ever rebel at all at the strict rules, or?
Yeah, I ran away from home for 2 years.
For 2 years. What did you do for that 2 years?
I started working.
Yeah? Where did you work?
I worked in Zenith Windows in Chelmsford selling windows.
Selling windows?
Yeah, but I was obviously underage, had to get paid like cash in hand.
Cash in hand, yeah. And like, how was that experience?
I mean, I don't regret anything that I've done.
Yeah.
Because it was all an experience. Like,
would you change anything though?
No. I slept in a car once. I slept in a police waiting area because I didn't have anywhere to stay. I mean, obviously I could have gone home, but I was rebelling. So, no. Didn't have any money to eat for so long.
It's funny you say that because I was quite, I mean, my mum will be watching this being like, can't believe you're telling people this, Daniel. But, you know, I wasn't the best, you know, either. I think when my parents split up, it affected me really badly. And because I was the youngest, like my brother and sister were a little bit older so they could go out and do their own thing. Whereas I was like 12, 13. So I wasn't really at the age those days. You know, kids now, I look at them and they're like running the streets and they're like 6, 7 years old. I'm like, I could never have done that when I was a kid. But yeah, going back to the original story that I'm talking about is, you know, like I really rebelled, and because I was seeing both sides of the kind of breakup, and you know, my mum then met another guy and got remarried. My dad kind of never found happiness again, which is a shame. But you know, it really affected me when I got to like my more adolescent years, because I just rebelled, and like even anyone that told me anything, I would just, you know, I had really bad anger issues. You know, I drank a lot to kind of get rid of that feeling, which ultimately ended in me being kicked out. I'd like to say I left home, but and my mum would probably say, "No, you left home. I didn't kick you out. I'd never kick you out." But
she kicked you out.
But it was a similar feeling. I remember laying on a mattress, and I'd been staying with a close friend of mine who I grew up with, and then they were like, "Listen, you can't stay here forever." So I was like, "Listen, I'm not going home." I was stubborn, just like you.
Yeah.
And you know, unlike you, I didn't actually, like, it got to the point where I was like, I would go to the fridge and there was mold. The place was horrific.
Yeah.
But it was just what they gave kids that didn't really have a home to go to.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I crumbled and was like, okay.
Let's go back now.
Yeah, I need to go back now. But yeah, I mean, like, I tried it living on my own and it was cool. But I think, yeah, again, mainly the motivation I find towards wanting to be better every day, and maybe you feel the same, is I think about those days.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had nothing.
Yeah, couldn't
no
even
money.
afford a bag of chips. I remember I was so hungry.
And it's such a weird, like, way of life, like, isn't it? Because it's like,
we chose it.
yeah, and it's I mean, but what was your kind of, I mean, obviously you said a few, but like, what was kind of, would you say is your lowest point of that period?
Probably sleeping in a police station waiting area on like a metal chair because I had nowhere to go and it was freezing.
Yeah. And I mean, were the police not like, why are you here? What are you doing? Like,
no, they let me sleep there. Didn't give me a blanket though.
And this was, police. And this was why you were still working, selling the windows as well? So you just literally slept in, and then you got up and then you went back to work the next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it was tough. I think because, like you said, my older sister, she'd already left home.
Yeah.
She had done it like a year before, and my younger sister, being the baby when we were adopted, she was always like the favourite. So I kind of thought, no, if my sister can do it, and then I did the Chelmsford thing for a while, was homeless there, and then I found my sister, who had she'd got a council place in Essex, in Basildon, and I found her and then stayed with her for a while until I eventually went home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been my lowest point.
Yeah. And how was it when you kind of went home, tail between the legs?
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, she wanted me to come home. And the thing is with me, like, I've never asked my parents for anything. I've always done it off my own bat. And my mum, before she died, always said to me, like, you've always just done it off your own merit. You've just gone and got it done.
Yeah.
She wanted me to come home, and then that's when I got a job with Optical Express and started working there and paid rent to my mum. And
and I suppose I suppose this is where the tough part comes in about being a parent yourself, because you can never really talk about what a child's going to go through, male or female, until it actually happens, because there's so much changes in your body. And I think, even if you have a great life or not so great life, it's really quite unpredictable. So with that, is that also a part of a fear that you have, that maybe like your boys will rebel against you when they're growing up?
I don't think so. I think, we're pretty fair. I think I'm probably the stricter one.
Yeah. And
Darren's the one that's probably more lenient. But I mean, I think I've dealt with so many different aspects of my childhood, and that I'm probably pretty equipped to deal with most scenarios and stuff.
Yeah. So, talking about the bullying side of things at school as well, like, what was your kind of memory of that? Like, how was it, like a constant, like?
I just don't remember school being any fun. I mean, I'm still friends with some of the girls that I went to school with, but like, I remember sitting in the toilet eating my lunch on my lap.
Wow.
Yeah, like, it wasn't fun.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, it's crazy, isn't it, how you, like, being a child should really be the fun part of your life.
Yeah.
And although I don't have a family yet, one thing that I fear is never being able to provide, and that's one thing that I'm always constantly like, and I think that's probably why I'm at 31 and not had a family yet, because I'm so particular on how I want things to be before I get to that point.
But if you want it, you'll get there.
Yeah.
If you want it enough, you will.
The problem is Saffron. She's like my baby now, so maybe she'll be my only one. Who knows? But no, going back to like the whole bullying side of things as well. Like, I remember days going to school, and you genuinely fear going to school, and it was such a random feeling, like to actually feel like one of the guys that, I had a fight with at school once. He ended up going to prison for murder.
Really?
And it was not an enjoyable experience. But in terms of like the school you went to, like, obviously it's just girls, yeah.
Just girls, and it's funny.
Would you
story.
say girls are more vicious?
Vile.
Yeah.
Yeah, not vicious, but more like hurtful.
Yeah.
But we had to get the bus, and we had to walk past Brentwood County High, which is like a what kind of school that you call it?
A county high school.
Just like a normal
like
school.
Like a high school, yeah.
Mixed. And we had to walk past them to get to the bus stop. And I remember one day there was this girl, and she just gave me the worst looks every day. And then there was one point where she attacked me on the way to the bus stop. She was pulling my hair and stuff, and the next day I had to go and identify with the police because I came home with like scratches all down my face.
Really?
But the funny story is that Darren went to that school, my husband. So we would have probably walked past each other.
Wow. And you never met each other, never knew each other?
No.
Until Dubai?
Yeah.
Wow. And then, like, when you did the whole, like, first time meeting, where you from?
Yeah,
and you're like,
mental.
Wow.
So going home for Christmas, like, our families are not far from each other.
Yeah. So in terms of, like, after that period, so...
I didn't really get to the GCSE stage, did I?
I was going to say, yeah.
Because I left school.
Yeah, because, like, for me as well, like, I left school with one GCSE.
Didn't do any. Didn't do
And it
any
was in
A
French.
levels, nothing. Oh, really?
I got a C in French, the rest was just a fail.
Perfect.
And I ended
Useful.
up home economics. I missed my exam because I got the timings wrong, and then ended up being a trained chef. So it was just like really random.
Amazing.
So moving on. So in terms of like now, that's all happened. You obviously meant your mother that adopted you, and obviously the father. They had regular like health problems.
My mum did, yeah. She battled with cancer for probably a good 10 years.
Yeah. And
She had it 3 times, and she
3
she
times.
survived, yeah. And then
Each
she
time,
didn't.
and then
Yeah.
the third time was like the last time.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it always the same?
No,
Like, strain of cancer.
Different areas. Like the first time she actually went in for a hysterectomy, and they found it, removed it, went through chemo, and she was fine. And the second time, somewhere else there, and then the third time it was actually her esophagus, I think.
Like, was there a point of all that was happening where you were just thinking like, God, cannot someone just let me be happy and let me?
Yeah,
have,
it was
the
tough.
family that I-
Like really tough, because she really held the family together. She was like the glue.
Yeah,
And I was just like, we have like the worst luck with mums.
yeah.
But it was really sad. It's really like made a huge impact on all of our lives, I think.
And were your kids able to ever meet her before
My
she passed?
oldest was, yes. My oldest was 3, I think, or 2 or 3 when she passed away. But she was such a good grandmother, even like just the 2 years that she knew him, you could tell that she was just going to be the best grandma.
Yeah. And do you think that's a part of the reason why, you know, like health and fitness is quite a big part of your life as well, subconsciously?
I mean, maybe. Like, I think my mum was never really a fitness person. All I could always
No, but I
remember
mean,
her
like,
being sick.
Just having that healthy lifestyle. Because
Yeah, because it does matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and, you know, please share your insights on this, but, you know, I think just getting the blood pumping and the blood flowing
Yeah.
is just a big help in itself.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think when I'm exercising, this is really good for my health.
Yeah.
For me, it's more, like I said before, like a mental thing. And I'd say obviously a vanity thing,
Yeah.
like to look good. But for my mental health, I have to, if I don't go to the gym like in the morning, I haven't done something that day,
Yeah.
like it will really bother me.
As you heard at the beginning of the podcast, we have a sponsor for today's podcast, and that is the Gym Clothing Company. And they've kindly agreed to giving us a 500 dirham voucher so you can go and win what Kelly describes as the comfiest clothing you could possibly wear in a gym. And fitness is a big part of my life, and fitness is a big part of Kelly's life. And as we enter into 2021, we hope it is a big part of your life as well. So to win that 500 dirham voucher, what do you have to do? Well, what you have to do is you have to head over to my Instagram page, Daniel Lees TRTS, which is the recipe to success. And I want you to comment on the photo of me and Kelly. Okay, and when you comment on that photo, I want you to tag 2 friends and also mention what your favourite exercise is to do in the gym. Maybe it's squats, maybe it's a chest. I don't know. You tell me. Winners will be announced on the 8th of January. So good luck.
Now, one thing that we spoke about, I was like, send me some photos and stuff so I can use it for the podcast. You're a semi-professional boxer as well.
Hardly.
So you've done white collar boxing
Twice, yeah.
twice. Why?
The first time was fitness. The second time was, again, fitness, but I wanted to do better than I did the first time.
Yeah,
And then I'm really keen to do it one more time.
yeah.
One more
And like, I mean, I did boxing when I was younger, martial arts, like standard kind of stuff that your parents
I
get you
did
to
karate.
do. Like boxing is full on. Like, you know, when you throw your arms around, you quickly run out of breath. Like, I used to do like 30 seconds to a minute maximum on the bags in the gym before, and it's really like tough going. So
Yeah.
what sort of training did you have to go through?
I mean, I'd say I had the best teacher. I had Jason
Yeah.
Woodham. He's a fellow Essex boy. He trained me at the time at TK MMA.
Okay.
So I
Was that in
went.
Barsha? Al Barsha?
No, Media One.
Ah,
like
Media
just
One,
behind,
okay. Ah, yeah,
behind
yeah, I
Media
know,
One.
yeah.
So I think I trained for the fight for about 6 months, even though like the official thing's like 3 months. But I wanted to be like extra prepared. And I think when you go in for the white collar, you have to train with, I think it was Fit Boys Gym at the time. But I said like I had my own trainer and I wanted to be like super prepared. But for me, like fitness, like motivation, like for me, I have to have a goal or a target to work towards.
Yeah.
And at the time, like all the businesses were going well. So it's just something that I could focus on and work towards, achieve, and then it would be something else.
And did you win?
Yeah.
Both times?
Yeah.
Hard as nails, yeah? Wow. And then in terms of like, one thing that actually has popped into my mind is sometimes when I do stuff, like when I first started doing like podcasts, for instance, or live mics, where I'd host events, like I got really nervous. Do you get that same feeling?
Oh yeah.
When you were doing the boxing and stuff, like walking into the ring, you were like really nervous?
Probably the most nerve-wracking thing of my life was walking out to your own music.
Yeah.
But also the most funniest thing, like everyone cheering, I was like, I could definitely be famous.
Yeah.
But the most nerve-wracking thing. But you kind of block it all out, and all you could focus on is like not getting hit.
Yeah. And did you get hit much?
No.
Any black eyes?
No.
No, and with the head guard on, right?
Yeah.
And when will be the next? When are you aiming for the next?
Well, I'm hoping to put on the fight.
Okay.
With Gym Clothing Company as an actual event.
Yeah.
Because I know that the guys that used to put on the white collar boxing, they're not. They're no longer.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to, create an event and get the fighters in. Because now I've done it. We've actually worked with the white collar boxing guys for 9 years, supplying the ring girls and all the stuff. So I think that would be a really fun event to do.
And if you could say one thought, before you're walking into the ring, you're obviously competing in a fight, what would you say was the one thing that entered your mind?
Can you beep it out?
I can if you want.
It was a swear word.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's in your head, like what on earth am I doing?
And like, just out of interest, because like a lot of people, especially that have their own businesses and successful and stuff like that, the first thing that would enter my mind is losing. Was that
It's
ever?
never an option. I don't think I would have gone into it if there was an option that I would lose.
Yeah. And do you think that a part of that is the preparation you prepared
for
so
sure.
well to the point?
Like I sparred with some of the best girl fighters that have fought like 6 to 8 fights, like proper fights. None of this white collar rubbish, like proper fights. I sparred with them, did all my like training with them. If I could survive that with them, then I know I'd be fine in the ring with someone that was like a newbie.
Yeah. And flipping that into kind of career-wise then, how you prepared for that fight, would you say is how you prepare your business?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm so, like my best friend will tell you, I'm so organised. I've always been like that, super organised, always on time, if not early. Like, yeah.
Have you ever considered like, doing like talks and motivational stuff for people that have basically gone through the same as you, even if it's not necessarily focused towards the life that you had growing up? Maybe it's just mums. Like, there's a lot of mums out there that, and I don't know, was postnatal depression a thing for you?
No.
Because there's a lot of women that go through that as well. And I mean, I can speak, for my sister, and we had a bit of a heart-to-heart recently, and she shared some of the dark stuff that she went through when she'd just given birth. And there's a lot of people that do that. So do you feel that you would be able to like, speak motivationally and like, is it ever?
I could definitely.
Has it ever been a thought?
The only reason I wouldn't is because speaking in front of people petrifies me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So public speaking.
Yeah.
Terrifies you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that has limits for you?
Limits?
As in, like, you wouldn't get up on stage because you're petrified of talking in front of people. Is there anything else that kind of, or are you, like, that stops you from doing something, or are you the kind of opposite of that and kind of go outside your comfort zone to experience what it's like on the other side?
I'm up for trying stuff, but public speaking is probably one thing that petrifies me.
Why? Why do you think it is? This is kind of public speaking.
Yeah, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's only you.
I had, and do you know what? And I say this to everyone. Before, I did like freelance work for Virgin Radio. So I used to do street events, and I used to warm up for the presenters if they were hosting the event. And I remember when I got asked to do it, and it was one of the, like, again, like I remember one time when I did my first gig, and I stuttered hard and just flopped.
Yeah.
And then the second one I did, I threw myself in at the deep end, and I remember I've never felt anything like it, and it was probably up there with one of the most anxious feelings I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I remember smelling myself afterwards, and I stunk, like I sweated so bad.
Yeah.
But it was to the point of where, you know, like I always say that you know, the best things in life are on the other side of fear.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think having that public speaking feeling,
Yeah.
once you then, and it's the same when you talk to people who jump out of a plane. Now that's something that I want to do, not done yet. However, when you do let go of that fear and just dive into it and just overcome that, it's probably like the boxing. I bet when you threw your first punch and it landed, your nerves went, right? Or not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like 5 minutes in.
Well, that
Yeah.
backfired. But yeah.
I know what you mean. Like, I think to face those fears, I need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up, but obviously the podcast is called The Recipe to Success, right? And I always like to ask everyone this question because it's interesting to see what their responses are. Because I feel that a lot of people that are in the position of success or have done well in their life, whether it's a certain way, whether it's like say, whether it's your health or your fitness or your career or personal, everyone's come from a similar background. I've not really met many people that have got their own businesses that went to university, for instance.
Yeah.
However, if I was to say, what is your recipe to success?
I would say that the recipe for success is not giving up, consistency, being organised. If you want to do something, chances are you can. You just have to put your mind to it, and a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Like we said before, coming to Dubai, it looks so lovely, but it is hard work, sheer determination, like grit. Like you have to work super hard to have any style of like lifestyle here, but it is worth it.
I'm so glad that and this is the reason why I do the podcast, because you get to chat to so many people, you know, like from the exterior, you think a certain way.
She's so confident and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Complete opposite.
And, you know, and everyone's got their unique story, and it just goes to show, as soon as we spoke on the phone about doing the podcast and you spoke about, you know, your upbringing, you're like, wow, like, you know, everyone's suffered and still, you know, have their own demons in the right sense. But no, I really thank you for sharing your story with us, and for all the mums out there that want to know how to juggle a life of work and family, definitely, you know, reach out to Kelly. I'm sure she's gonna, you know, follow her on Instagram. Where can we follow? Give us your Instagram handle.
It's Kelly Marie 2281.
Yeah. So I'm sure once baby 3 is here, you know, you can find her partying somewhere in the
gym.
In the gym, yeah.
Back in the
In
gym.
the morning workouts. We'll set a competition, right? We'll see who gets up earlier, and I'll tag you in my post.
It will definitely be you, because that's one thing that I do is I never set my alarm to go to the gym.
Really?
If I have to set my alarm to do something, then no. I'll get up and I'll do it, but on my own time.
Sounds a bit diva-ish to me.
No,
I'm
I
joking.
only have to roll downstairs to the gym. So.
I'm joking. Well, again, thanks very much. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed listening to that. It's not finished yet though. Make sure you head over to our Spotify page, the Recipe to Success podcast. Give us a follow. And not only that as well, you know, if you found any form of motivation from this podcast, you know, this is why we do this, you know. None of us get paid to do this. We do this for free, because we want to share motivation and people's stories with you, to show you that whatever you're facing right now in your life, anything is possible as long as you put your mind to it and you, like we said, hard work. And you know what you said, recipe to success, is pretty much what everyone says.
Oh, really?
Everyone says the same thing, you know, like don't give up, work hard.
It's true.
You know, just keep going, and just be persistent. And I thank you very much for sharing your story with me.
Welcome.